This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West podcast with your host, Brandon Cook and Nick Harrington.
And welcome back to the Hockeytown West podcast, your source for everything Grand Rapids Griffins and Toledo Walleye hockey. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Travis.
It's good to be back, boys. And it was good to be back in Vandal Arena this weekend. I know, Nick, you had your first game back there last weekend while I was in Denver, but it was my first time back there this season. It's just so good to be back in a hockey rink. That scoreboard, it's beautiful. I love everything about it. And the view that we have this season ain't half bad either. But before we dive into all the fun from this weekend, I got to check in with the boys. Nick, how you doing today, man?
I am good. We got a big Lions win today. That was the most important thing that needed to be done today. So took care of business, got out without any injuries. So that's good as well. So I'm good. Doing good.
Good stuff. Trav, man, how are you doing? Walleye just took another victory at the weekend, start the season off 2-0. How are you feeling?
I'm good. Wasn't feeling great earlier today. Got a nap that helped. Feeling pretty good. I got to go out, sit in the woods a little bit. Can't ever complain about that. So back to hockey and more hockey and more hockey.
That's going to be our life, at least till hopefully, mid-June. Yeah. Yep, exactly. And while you're out in the woods, can you start actually hitting things that aren't trees, buddy? We'd appreciate that.
Yeah, a tree was killed on Friday night, not the deer. So, you know what? And then I seen 6 the next day, and they were under 20 yards, and I still didn't even get to shoot. Otherwise, we'd have had more dead trees. So,
was it a big tree?
Not really.
Oh,
if it was a big tree, no.
Oh, sorry, I had to get that one out there earlier.
Hey, that's all right.
But boys, before we dive into the Griffins' fantastic weekend versus the Moose here at home, there's a couple things we want to go over. First, we got to give a listener of ours a shout out. Mr. Randy Zick stopped by and saw us at the game last night and dropped off a couple gifts that he got for us. And it's one of the coolest things I think we've ever received. Nick, I think you have one handy to pop up on screen here for those watching on YouTube. Randy handed us over these 3D printed versions of our show logo and some 3D printed pucks with the logo on it. These things are so sick. We did not know that was coming. We had heard about the pucks from him, and he handed us the logos. They're so nice. I got mine tucked in the background right up here. It'll always be in the background of the show. Just want to give Randy a shout out, man. That gift was unnecessary, but so appreciated. Like, it's so cool. I know Nick loves his.
So freaking sick. When he had it, I was like, how did you get this through security? Because the thing is, it's pretty sharp. Not in just the way it looks, but just like pointed as well. I love this thing. I've put it up on in our fire seats throughout the game. So that was cool to be able to show off. And I literally want 20 more of them. I don't know. I don't know what we'll do with 20 more of them, but I would just love to have more of them. Different colors. I don't know. We'll see what we can do hooking up with Randy on those. So thank you so much. That was probably the coolest thing. I would say this now surpasses the Hockeytown West sign that I have above that I was gifted as well from a friend of ours throughout the show. So
yeah, it's awesome.
A war among friends, you know that? You got enough wars you're in between a Walleye player and now listeners and friends.
It's true. You do have a war against a Walleye player, and I can't wait to hear when you're not at the home opener with me what he has to say. But I think your reasoning behind not being there, he might accept this time. Who knows?
He won't. No.
For those that don't know, Brandon
pot.
For those that don't know, Brandon Hawkins always has some kind words to say to Nick when Nick doesn't make the trip down to Toledo, and they're usually words that we can't put in the show. So,
Patreon
but it's
exclusive.
Exactly. It's all love. We always love Hawk, and Hawk still loves Nick. We think, but
I hope.
Another exciting thing that happened over the weekend. I mean, Marco Kasper got his call up to the NHL. It's kind of something that all Wings fans have been waiting for. And he got his first point in the NHL this weekend in the game against Nashville. Obviously, I was excited about it, repping my Marco Kasper Wings jersey for this recording here. I had to have an excuse to bust it out, and it's a great reason to. And he played a great game out there, and I don't know, my opinion, I don't think he's coming back unless they have to send him back for cap space and all that fun stuff. But I mean, I know it's just one game, but he looks like he belongs there. What do you guys think?
I wasn't able to get to watch the game. I just saw it through Twitter and through like the group chat that we have with the Rundown guys, and they said he played well. I was a little disappointed because for Light the Lamp, which was formerly Light the Lamp, sound the alarm, sound the goal horn. What are we calling it now, Brandon?
Griffin, sound the horn.
Sound the horn.
I gotta steal Light the Lamp from Detroit.
I gotta write this down somewhere so I can reference it back, because I think I've got it in like 6 different notes, different things. But I had the first pick, and I was going with the Casper. I was going with the Friendly Ghost, and he was taken from me, which then kind of made it interesting for the Griffins game. But I'm happy for him to get up there. I think he'll be back. His stuff is probably still over here. He's got probably some stuff in the locker room as well. And I'm wondering if he gets kind of the Bergie treatment that Bergie had like 2 years ago when he was up there for like 60-ish games and then comes back down. But I don't know if he'll comes back down. I mean, I'm wondering if he gets those 60 and kind of takes off.
I thought he played well. I thought he looked really good. Didn't look out of place. They put him in a good spot. They put him with a familiar face with Berggren, and I think that really helped. There's some comfortability from last season there. Played really well. Got a point, good play. Just honestly, just chipped it back down the boards. But hey, kind of knew Berggren was going to be there, so heads up play by him. His confidence looks really good. He probably should have been there from the start to begin with. You know, a lot of us all thought maybe him making the roster made more sense than some other people, but here we are, and I thought he looked well. I don't think he'll be back in Grand Rapids outside of maybe to get some clothes, as Nick was talking about. And also for Brandon, you're welcome, because I talked you into that jersey.
You did 100% talk me into this. I would not have bought it, but I'm really glad I did. The only disappointing thing was I couldn't get it signed that day when we got it up at training camp, and was hoping for a nice season ticket member event with him still down here to get it signed. But now it's going to be another jersey that I own that's difficult to get signed. I typically end up with those jerseys for some reason that usually involve me making a couple hour drive or waiting at a couple games to get signed, but we'll make it happen. But I am extremely happy for Marco, and honestly, you know, like you said, pairing with Berggren, obviously that makes sense right out of the gate. But Rasmussen was on that line as well. Am I not wrong about that?
No, you're right.
Okay. So with him and Ras, like that's the most comfortable Ras has looked this entire season. Like he's kind of just looked out of place and not really his Rasmussen self out there. And he started to look a lot better in that game. Maybe it's just a few games under his belt this season. He's got his legs under him and he's going. But I think the three of them together just really complemented each other really well.
I think the biggest thing, and Newsy said it, with Casper playing third line center, it slotted guys a little bit better. And I think with Rasmussen, you've seen it, and you've really seen it with Veleno. Not that we're a Red Wings podcast and need to go into it, but he played probably one of the best games he's played in the last couple seasons. But back to Rasmussen, yeah, I think just the comfortability. I mean, I think that role, like he created a lot of space for those two, and it really showed and helped with that line. As Tarasenko scored the goal, so Rasmussen wasn't on the ice when that goal happened, but all in all throughout the game, I thought Rasmussen looked really comfortable with those two, so I wouldn't look for any change there going forward.
No, I agree. Can we just talk about how Newsy's post-game conferences have been fantastic this season? First of all, he's up in Igor's contract price, just by giving him good compliments. He's becoming a great agent, and then just subtly dropping the hints that having Marco gives him the ability to put a lineup together that slots everyone in proper places, and putting those couple things out there in the universe like that. I like it. So Newsy knows what he's doing in the post-game pressers for sure this season, and hopefully that just calm down some Red Wings fans. Hopefully they don't think the season's over, this early
Still
already.
It's over.
No, shut up. God.
Seat's hot.
Yeah, no, it is not. And it's just good to see people in places where they probably should have been to start the season. We understand how rosters and caps work, but Casper, he's so ready. He's ready to take on that role. And selfishly, as always, I'm going to want him here in Grand Rapids just because I get to see him in person and more and more. And I didn't get to do a post-game interview with him, unlike Mr. Nick over there. So I won't probably get that luxury this entire season, but who knows? But enough about, showering Marco Casper with all the praise. I could go on for probably another hour about it. Let's dive into this Grand Rapids Griffins weekend that happened. They had the Manitoba Moose in town for back-to-backs at home, and they were fun games. They were battles. But we'll dive into the first game here Friday night. where the Griffins end up winning this one 1-0 on the back of a Ville Husso shutout. Like his 2 appearances as a Grand Rapids Griffin, one last season, one this season, and he had shutouts in both of them and looked extremely comfortable in net there. Let me give you a quick rundown of the game stats, and we'll kind of dive in as we go here. So obviously, like I said, the Griffins win this one 1-0. Joe Snively, not Sheldon Dries. I'm going to mix those two up all season for some reason. But Joe Snively gets his first goal as a Griffin. Nice to get that one off his back, as he told us post-game there. Assisted by Carter Mazer and Sheldon Dries. And Ville Husso stops 22 of 22 in this one. Griffins go 0 for 3 on the power play, but do go 2 for 2 on the penalty kill. Manitoba had 22 shots on goal. Grand Rapids had 19. And stat-wise, that's about all you could possibly pull from this game. Going into the game, the roster was shaken up a little bit with the absence of Marco Kasper. We saw the Grand Rapids Griffins go 11-7 for the first time this season. Nick asked Coach Watson last week if he was going 11-7 after the first game, and he jokingly laughed it off and said no. And first game back at home, he's going 11-7. I feel like Nick had something to do with it outside of Marco being gone. But on top of that as well, we saw Shai Bouya make his season debut with the Griffins as well. We'll talk more about him a little bit later. But first, what I'm going to do is we're going to talk about Ville Husso, but we had the opportunity to talk with Ville Husso post-game. I'm going to toss it over to that interview just so everyone can hear how happy Ville sounds. So here's Ville Husso talking to us post-game. Ville, big win tonight, back-to-back shutouts in your first appearance as a Griffin. How does that feel?
I mean, it feels good. It was kind of a crazy week, I would say, being in the waivers and then coming in down here, but I just came in, as work hard, enjoy it, hopefully it won't be too long, and I think that's the only way to come in and work hard, enjoy it. It's a good group here. It was easy to come. For the game tonight, I think guys did a really good job defensively. Kind of a low shot game, so 2 points. At the end of the day, it's a good win for us.
Yeah, I would agree. Now, obviously, you had the injury you were rehabbing the offseason. How'd that go for you? You look really healthy, you look really comfortable out there right now.
Yeah, no, I feel really good. It's a couple new things in the summer, a little bit everywhere, back home in Finland, Florida, Detroit. Good mix of, rehabbing and training and kind of a little reset there. I think I had a really good training camp and those exhibition games, and then, tough start for the first game, but I'm still confident in myself, and it's just hockey, and gotta go day by day and game by game.
Yeah, that's a great attitude to have about it. What do you? We don't know how long you'll be here, obviously. But what do you just hope to accomplish while you're here?
I'm like I said, coming in, just work hard. Try to be a leader here, show the way for the younger guys here. When I played in AHL, we got a couple guys from NHL, and the way they practice and every day, to take care of their bodies and, like little things like that, just to try to keep that winning mentality and bring it here.
Sharing any important words of wisdom with Sebastian Costa while you're here?
He's an awesome goalie. It's been, fun following him. I think he'll be very ready very soon. He's a big guy, making himself look big too, so he's hard to beat.
I appreciate your time, man. That's all we have for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks again to Ville for taking time after the game to chat with us in the post-game press conference there. His performance overall in the game, I thought he looked comfortable. He looked solid. He looks healthy. We've been saying that all preseason, all training camp, he looked good, but we saw the Husso that we saw in preseason, not who we saw in the home opener in game 1. Nick, what was your thoughts overall on Husso's performance in that game?
He looked good. I was happy to be able to see him for the full game. The last time he was out here in Grand Rapids, he goes through practice, like pregame skate, and he didn't make it out of there. So, the game that he was able to start before that was back in January against Belleville, gets the shutout, and he keeps it going. He extended that streak. So he looked good. He looked comfortable. It's not like I wanted to take the goalie that night for the sound the alarm, sound the horn. But I just could not. I was like, Manitoba, they played last weekend. They put up 9 goals. They only gave up 6. I was like, it's too risky for me to go with. So I should have trusted my gut. Should have went with what you had there, Brandon, and picked the goalie. And he did well. He played. It's not like he had bad shots against him either. Like everything was coming in through the face-off circles and the face-off dot. Not a lot was coming from the blue line, and he was seeing the puck. He was seeing the puck really well. So who knows how long we have him? It's good for the mentorship for Kosa, since we've been kind of rotating that role too. But who knows what happens with him the rest of the season. It's an interesting goalie situation right now with the organization.
The most important thing is, even when we talked to him post game, is he's got a good head in his shoulders about it. He said it was a crazy week being on waivers, but he's here to play as a Griffin, and he's going to do everything he's got to do and do it the best he possibly can. And again, that just goes back to Dan Watson's culture of, when you're a Griffin, you're playing as a Griffin. Doesn't matter if you're a Red Wing, doesn't matter if it's a vet, doesn't matter if it's Dylan Larkin getting sent down to the Griffins. He's playing as a Griffin that night, and that's the main focus. So you can see that comes through every time, and it was good that he had some time to adjust and get with the boys this week. And I feel like every week we're talking about a new potential mentor for Sebastian Cossa throughout the season, but here we are, and it's Ville Husso right now. And as a Griffins fan, I'm really comfortable with that 1-2 combo or those two goaltenders if Ville's going to play like that while he's here. Trav, any thoughts you wanted to add on Ville just on that performance?
Yeah, just a couple. Biggest thing would be that he hasn't played a lot of games. I mean, yes, he played a lot in the preseason, but still, like, dating back over the last year of his life, he hasn't played a lot of hockey games. He's been hurt. Obviously had a tough night with the Wings on opening night. He earned that start, I thought, through his play in the preseason. Goes through a tough week, and what does he do? He bounces back. It could have been easy for him to come down here and have an upset attitude and so on and so forth. But I don't think, like you said, Watson's not going to let that happen. I think Ville doesn't want that to happen, and he went out and played really well. He is like, this might sound kind of interesting, but to me, he's very boring in the way he plays, and it's a good boring. Like, he seemed like when he's on, he's positioning as well. He's not like this. He's not like Kosa in any way. Like, you just don't see like the crazy desperation saves. It's very structured. It's very, his technique's very, very good. But honestly, just, for him to come down and want to find that game to get him back up to the next level, and he handled it really well from what it sounded like in the post-game little interview, press conference, whatever you want to call it. But hopefully he can build on it and keep growing, because I think he's still going to play an important role with the Wings, I think, at some point this year, no matter how many games that is.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, Wings fans can't write him off. They're not just going to bury him down in Grand Rapids for the whole season. If they did, as Griffins fans, okay, we're fine with it. But at the same time, like, I don't see that happening. I don't know how long he will be here, but I guess as long as we want Marco up with the Wings, I think Ville will be here, or, somebody else is going to have to make that trip down to Grand Rapids, because I don't think it's Justin Hull at this point. I think he's kind of finding his way back into Detroit there and making it known that he needs to be on the roster. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch. It's going to give us tons to talk about all season. But again, if we get to watch Ville Husso in multiple games with Grand Rapids this year, is every game going to go as perfect as the first one? Probably not. But at the same time, it's just an extra piece of confidence for us as fans to have a guy like him back there. But enough Ville Husso talk. Let's talk about the guy that scored the goal here. First goal as a Griffin. Joe Snively gets that monkey off his back there, and he was pretty pumped to get that one out of the way early. You can tell, Nick, you and I had talked off air before going into this game where we thought Sheldon Dries and Joe Snively would probably show a little bit more this week, just as they've had time to adjust and get more comfortable. And that seems to be the case. They both had fantastic games this weekend, but that goal from Snively was pretty slick. I liked it, and Carter Mazur's assist on it also was really nice. The way to fight that puck away there and get it to Snively, it's the only reason that goal happened.
Yeah, I mean, you see a huge part moving up with Marco going up, and it adjusted the lines, it adjusted the roster, and it gave a lot of people time to shine. And I mean, we'll talk about that, not shine the player, but just like people gaining an opportunity. And we'll talk a lot more about that on the fourth game, on Saturday's game, where it gave a young player good opportunities, and he took advantage of it. But you see Sheldon, you see Joe Snively, and then Mazur all get that time back together from training camp, is when they practiced and played, and they gelled. They looked really good. They were that first line out for the Griffins, and just to compete from Joe Snively, like, we knew he was going to get it going. It was just going to be a matter of time. He came from a championship pedigree team from Hershey. So we're just, it wasn't going to take long for him to get settled in, get going, get the goals going. And he's played well besides the accounting stats too. So.
Yeah, good defensive game up and down from him too. We talk a lot about Nate Danielson's defensive game, which getting to see that in action this weekend for me for the first time in play action outside of what we saw in the playoffs last year. I could definitely see why that's a stat that is talked about with him. But Snively plays a really good 200-foot game, and his offensive upside, you can see why he put up so many points that he did when he was in Hershey. He's a good player, and like you said, this gave guys opportunities to shine, but at the same time, it's good knowing the veteran depth that we have added this year is going to step up when they need to step up. And they did this weekend, and overall just really fantastic. And another veteran guy that I got to see in action with the Griffins for the first time in person, Austin Watson. Now I know, Nick, you got to see him last weekend play the physical game, but also play the offensive side too, which, he warned Newsy that at the AHL level, he can score. And we saw that out there. And he had a couple moments this weekend where he had some good setups for guys. Really, really good passer. His passing skills are really good, but physicality wise, the dude brings it. Every shift, there's no stop in his motor. He will hit anybody, doesn't matter who it is. And he just goes out there and looks like he gives the boys a spark that they need, but he also has a lot of fun while he's doing it. And I wish he was mic'd up because I want to hear what he sounds like when he's running his mouth out there, because I have a feeling it's pure comedy just hearing him talk in the locker room after the game. But Nick, just thoughts on Austin Watson in that game?
Watson, I mean, he's just bringing that physicality again. It's definitely somebody he's got that aggressive enforcer type that he's playing. He plays it really well. I want to dive a little bit more later on about him as a person, because we were able to get a little bit of access after the game with him, and just the person that he is. I want to speak more on later on. So,
yeah, no, for sure. Any thoughts that you want to add, Trav, on Watson? I know you like the physical side of the game here and what he brings to the table.
Dude's a menace to society on the ice. Just complete bulldozer, but also, I mean, at this level, probably has a little more offensive upside than he would at the NHL level. Dude is just a human wrecking ball and the perfect guy for Hunter Johannes to learn from, to be honest. They play kind of a similar style, and I think that, Johannes can learn a lot from Watson. I think Watson can provide that that kind of leadership for that style of role. But all in all, dude's lived up to what he's always done in professional hockey, and I think you guys are going to continue to see it throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, he's easily going to be a fan favorite when he's in Grand Rapids. You can just see it up and down. But
dude, if this guy was in Toledo, oh my god.
Well, he's not going there. We'll say that for sure.
Just with the way that he plays, he'd have been a perfect guy for the Storm back in the day.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, we talked about last season with Grand Rapids where the physical edge is definitely something that they lacked, right? You had a couple guys that could do it, but they're guys that you didn't want to see have to do it all the time. You wanted to see Dominic Shine be able to go out there and show his offensive ability, and he did last season, but he didn't play as physical all game. He only did it when he really needed to go out there and get that spark going or stand up for somebody. But you look at this lineup, and you had Mazur on the first line who can go out there and cause chaos. You had Watson on the second line with Danielson and Soderblom that can go out there and cause chaos. The third line, you got Shine with Lombardi and Lurkowski out there. Shine can go out there and cause chaos when he needs to. And then the extras in the 11 and 7 here, Hunter Johannes is right there. So there's guys out there that can just create the spark and protect and stand up for the boys when they need to, all up and down this lineup. And that's not even jumping into the guys on defense that can go out there and do that. Like, the guy that needs to get some credit on D in this first game, Josiah Didier, was out here eating pucks again. Like, yeah, Husso only faced 22, but I think Dids had probably 6-7 blocks in this game. He was incredible in this one, and he was also on Saturday night.
Yeah, I love where Dids, kind of picked up right from last season. I mean, he's back into the lineup. He's blocking shots. He's taking pucks. He's protecting the kids again. So you've got that, that consistency piece again this year, and he's probably a little bit more comfortable too coming in. It's a second season here in Grand Rapids. He's more comfortable with the locker room that he's got around him as well. It's just, I think things are starting to put together for him as well over here, and it's good to see. And hopefully we talk about this guy too, is Lagesson, but I'll give it over to Travis to speak on Dids.
Leading by example. I mean, playing blocking a lot of shots, eating pucks like it's May, in those high pressure situations. But I mean, this is what you want out of a captain. I mean, you want a guy that leads by example. Might not be the most gifted offensive guy, but man, does he play the defensive side of the puck really well. I noticed it a lot when I was down there. Sticks up for guys when needed. I mean, just doesn't let guys get pushed around, plays that defensive style that, I mean, he seems to know and play really well. So that you need those kind of guys.
Yeah, I know it's early, but he's already improved so much from last season. It's crazy. Like, I like where he's at in the lineup. I like who he's paired with. And Nick, I'm glad you brought him up because I don't have him in the notes here. But Lagesson, I asked you last week after the Griffins' first weekend, how does that pairing of him and Tuomisto look? Is there still a growing period? I think that growing period happened over the week because they look really good together. Lagesson was fantastic in this game, and he really complements Tuo well.
Yeah, it's a really good signing for her. I think he signed with Detroit, right? Yeah. And then he's down here with us. I mean, he plays so physical. I love it. He's like Josiah Didier, taking pucks. He's clearing out the crease for the guys, for the goalies. He's always in the right spot at the right time. And I just love to be able to watch that. We're missing a big guy this year, right? Simon Edvinsson got promoted up. We need somebody to fill in. Lagesson does a great job there. And you're just not seeing, like last year in the beginning of the season, Simon making some rookie mistakes, some younger mistakes, and you bring Lagesson in, who's a veteran, who's able to just kind of pick up and go. Like he brings in the consistency piece for on the defensive side, and somebody you could trust. 2-0 still has a little bit of a leash, I would say, like being a second season in, being top pairing, and he's we kind of lean more on him on the offensive side of shooting that big shot that he has from the blue line to get it in. So it's good to see that stay-at-home defenseman with Lagesson being a little bit taller, a little bit more rougher around the edges, you could say. So it's good to see.
And what I will add too is I commented, I think it was during Saturday's game to you, but 2-0's accuracy with that big shot is much improved this season. He's hitting the goalie at least, maybe not hitting the back of the net yet, but he's not hitting the boards as much, and he's not hitting the post or the crossbar. He's actually getting the shot on net, and that's already a major improvement from last season. And his skating honestly looks a lot better too. But Trav, you mentioned with Dids leading by example, and we didn't point it out last week because we didn't know if it was set in stone yet, but it appears to at least be for when they're playing at home. Your alternate captains on this team are Dominic Shine and William Lagesson, and obviously your captain is Josiah Didier, and every single one of those players goes out there and gives it their all every shift and leads by example. Dan Watson has built a fantastic leadership core to set the example for this team, I would say.
He always had a good one in Toledo. I mean, some of the guys that he brought in down here, I mean, TJ Hensick, John Albert, I mean, he's always done a great job at like putting the right guys with letters on their jerseys in place. And it's, it carried down there. It's carried on, or down there, up there, I should say. We're down here. But it's just good to see. I think, he's a very smart mind, Dan Watson. So he always kind of seems to know who to put where and within them leadership roles. So I think you guys have a good group of leadership up there that's only going to help this team with their culture and bring these young players along.
Yeah, those guys are going to be important when it comes to playoff time, and I'm just glad we have the right guys in place. But out of all these positives, there was one negative that's got to be pulled out of this game, and that is an injury to Carter Mazur. In the second period of the game, he took a hit. It was a little bit of a blindside hit, kind of a situation where a young kid kept his head down too at the same time. You do got to keep your head up, but this, I don't know, it looked like head contact for me. It looked like maybe a missed call. We won't go off that on that tangent, but he did not return to this game. And even with that, I mean, obviously the Griffins only getting one goal in this game. You're asking a lot of guys to step up in his absence there. And right after that play happened, of course, one of the leaders, Dominic Shine, steps on the ice, drops the gloves immediately with the guy that hit Mazur and took him straight down, did his job as he needed to do. I loved seeing that response from Shiner, but at that point, too, the Griffs go down 2 forwards for at least 5 minutes. They're already going 11-7 in this game, down a forward, and the team didn't skip a beat. They looked really good out there. We don't have an update on Carter Mazur still to this point. We failed in our post-game press conference that night, Saturday night, asking for an update on Carter from Dan Watson, but I think we would have known what the answer was, probably day-to-day, some upper body injury. We wouldn't have gotten too much. In the AHL, they do not share details when it comes to injuries unless it's something where they're going to be out for a season, and then you kind of get an update on what actually happened. And hearing that there was no specific update that could be given, I don't think it's going to be super long-term. We just hope the team, if it is like a head injury, they're taking it seriously and give him the time to come back. But I know, Nick, you and I watched last season, Carter bounced back from an injury, and it took him some time to get back into it. So this is going to be interesting to watch as this develops.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good thing to see him out this early in the season or at all. I didn't want him to miss any part of the season. I wanted to see that consistency piece of staying healthy, staying strong. He said he's been, his off season's been eating, working out, hockey. Like that's what he's been doing. We just need to see that consistency piece with him, and him taking this hit it's going to take him. It's a setback for him. And hopefully it's just this game that they just took him out for precaution, rest him up. We've got a big weekend coming up. We've got 3 games in 3 days. So maybe they're just more on the cautious side. It's not something major. And like you said, like we could have asked, but they weren't going to tell us. I mean, the way Waddy answers his questions is like Steve Eisenman 2.0, and it's tough to get that stuff out. So especially just like we asked on the side too, and we didn't get the answer that we were looking for. So from the team officials, but hopefully he's back. We want to see that I want to see that consistency piece, and I want to see him back up on the stat sheet. Hopefully it doesn't take him that long to get going. And he's already got chemistry with Dries and Snively, so that should help moving forward.
Yeah, hopefully we get an update on Friday, at least before the game Friday. If he's not in the lineup, hopefully in the broadcast we catch something. Hopefully Bob can share some details. But Travis, what do you got to add there?
So I watched it back. I think it only looked as bad as it did because he was kind of in a vulnerable situation. He was kind of he was leaning forward to try to make a play. I think if he was standing upright, it goes from maybe a little bit head contact, like shoulder, head, neck, to more shoulder, shoulder. Not that he did anything wrong. He's just trying to make a play. And, it's just an unfortunate situation all around. I mean, I highly doubt that, the guy was trying to take his head off. It's just when you go to being that I played hockey, you get the puck like that. If you're kind of not totally with it and you go to make that play, you're going to lean forward a little bit. And it was just like the guy coming towards him was probably not prepared for him to kind of to lean forward a little bit. And that takes your angle off completely of where he's getting hit and how he's getting hit. So I don't know if it was maybe malicious, but you'd love to see that Shine came in and said, hey, you kind of just clip their dude in the side of the head here. You're going to have to answer for something. So just that was kind of my only really sense on it.
No, yeah, that's a good takeaway on it. Yeah, like we said, we will share updates as we get them. We won't prod for them. We won't do anything like that because we know we won't get many details anyways. But as soon as we know something, we'll share it with everybody as we can. But I think that pretty much covers Friday's game there. Again, Griffins win this one 1-0. Start the season 2-0 at home at this point. Fantastic way to start the home trend this year, just like we did last year. We were dominant at home, and they're already off to a great start there. What we'll do here is we'll throw it to an ad break real quick, and when we come back, we'll break down Saturday's game. So, Nick, go read the ad.
The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping on the 24-25 season. Get in on all of the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Super easy for the first timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. With the Red Wings opening the season on Thursday, October 10th, the current line is Detroit Red Wings a -130 on the money line. Odds and lines are subject to change between now and then. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $200 and bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 and bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Blue Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age Eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see tkng.co/ice. Copyright NHL 2024. All rights reserved. Hockey is in the air, and the throw of the game is bringing Griffin fans from all over the state to the Van Andel Arena. So when you're looking to get tickets, your number one choice should be Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can see players like Marco Kasper and Sebastian Cossa before they make their way to the wings, and you get the seat views before you buy, so you can see what it looks like from where you'll be sitting, which is one of my favorite things about Game Time. Curated deals make it easier to find the best price on great seats, and with the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more. Game Time should be your number one destination for your tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Pick. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
And welcome back. All right, let's dive into Saturday's game again versus the Manitoba Moose at home here. This one saw Sebastian Cossa get the start in a 2-1 victory over the Moose to bring us to 3-0 on the season at home to start. Beautiful thing. Sebastian Cossa stops 29 of 30 in this one, has a fantastic game overall. Griffins get 24 shots on goal, go 0 for 3 on the power play, a perfect 4 for 4 on the penalty kill. Goals in this one start off with Amadeus Lombardi getting his first of the season about 4 minutes into the second period, assisted by Dominic Shine and Joe Snively. This one, I mean, Shiner made a great play, but Snively made an even better play at the blue line to keep it in there. I was glad that he got the secondary assist on this. They didn't initially give it to him, but he definitely deserved it. But Amo walked in with Shine and just a really gritty goal to bury this one. Fantastic there. And then the third period, Manitoba does get on the board. 3 minutes in, MP gets his first goal of the season with the Moose. But 11 minutes into the third, Amadeus Lombardi with a highlight reel goal going in on the goalie, makes a crazy move that does result in him falling down as the puck goes in, but his hype man Austin Watson was there to pick him up in the celebration, and the boys were pumped after that goal goes in, and as they should be. It was Amo's first pro game with 2 goals. Just overall, just so much fun, and that's all they needed to get this victory here. It does come with a crazy desperation save from Sebastian Cossa near the end of the third that we'll talk about here in a minute, but like we said, the boys come away with the win here, and I couldn't have been happier after this one. Just overall, the vibes in the arena were so much better Saturday night. It seemed like the Friday crowd was definitely more interested in the $2 beers than the game, which tend to be how it goes. The crowd was into it, though. It was a lot of fun. Not big crowds, but we're used to seeing that at the beginning of the season here in Grand Rapids. It seems like the crowd size really picks up, and once the snow starts flying and the holiday season comes around. But going into this game, the boys did go 11-7 again. Obviously, no Carter Mazer and no Marco Kasper in this one. Alexander Doucette found himself back in the lineup here, and everybody kind of moved up the lineup, giving some guys some more responsibility, which we'll talk about here in a little bit more. But I do want to start off with just Amadeus Lombardi. We've got to start there. Obviously, he's one of the guys that had more responsibility playing third line center in this one with Raklowski and Cross Hannes, and the chemistry with him and Cross Hannes in this game showed through. It was really good, but God, Amo just had a fantastic game overall. Defensive side of the puck, he was great. Like, that second goal was a little pickpocket from a guy who was falling down at center ice, and he just took it in and scored. It was an unassisted goal, which is even crazier. But I just thought he looked fantastic. He looks comfortable, and getting the 2 goals this early in the season is kind of goes along with the trend that we talked about all offseason. Is he's going to have a breakout year this year.
Yeah, it's that second goal. Well, the first goal, gritty. Like, that's the only way that I explain that, is because they went towards that far post. They were trying to just push it in, and then finally Amo was able to get it. He just was flying around all night with Raklowski and with Cross Hannes, and you could tell that they really him and Cross. He mentioned Cross in the post game interview with us. He just enjoys playing with him, and Cross looks better this year too, playing alongside with Amo. So they were able to feed off of each other. There was one instance I think it was in the third period that I clipped, and it's just them just moving the puck. The chemistry between them, it was just insane. And then that led to 2-0. Dinging it off the post. So I was his shot's getting better. It's getting closer to the goal. Last year you saw him kind of hitting the net and then hitting the boards and kind of spray shotting that. But dialing it in. Ammo, that second goal, like he pickpockets that guy, goes down, puts it in, and then I'm like, I look at you and I'm like, who was that? And all I hear is, "Hey, Jude," and I'm like, no way. I was like, that was amazing. Like, because up there, for me, it's hard to see the numbers. That's the one downside of being up there is I can't see the numbers as well, so I couldn't tell who had it coming towards us where we were at, but. I think he picked up a little bit too because Elmer a little bit earlier had the same opportunity and he wasn't able to put it in. And then you turn around and Ammo gets that same chance right there and ends up securing that game winning goal there. So just like huge game for him, huge for his confidence. He was so pumped after. I was happy for him. I mean, it was just kind of like, where is this Ammo that we saw in preseason, where we saw him in training camp and dev camp, just kind of light the board. And now you see Marco go up. You see Ammo come up as well. He gets the minutes, he gets the opportunity, and he took advantage of them. And I'm excited to see where he gets slotted this weekend. If he gets moved up, if he stays on that same, what happens with the lineup moving forward with him. So super pumped, super happy for him.
And he looked good at center this game. He looked good at center this weekend. He was winning a good amount of face-offs. I wish we had the stats. We still don't. We got to bring that up one of these days. We're up there. Just be like, why is there not a face-off statistician for this team? Like, there's got to be one. But overall, Ammo looked great. And like you said, Elmer had that breakaway opportunity. Almost the same thing. Elmer picked it off at center ice at the end of a penalty kill. It was fantastic. He goes in there. He gets 2 opportunities on this goalie because the goalie gave out a big rebound. But you can kind of see how the goalie was going to approach that shot. And I think Ammo read it just how he saw the goalie do it against Elmer and was able to stick it right behind him there. Again, just a fantastic game from him overall. Trav, I know you saw the goal highlight. Any thoughts?
So a couple things. First, you just mentioned the face-off stats. Go back to the old school way of doing it and having the backup goaltender do it on clipboard because that's the way.
There you go.
That's the way they used to do it back in the day. The first goal that Ammo scored, as we'll jump into that here. Great effort to just stick with it, stay there, chip away, and then finally score. And the second one, the only thing that came to mind from the pickpocket to going in and scoring like that was Datsukian.
Honestly, yeah.
Takeaway, nice move, nice finish. The tumble wasn't very Datsukian, but the rest of it was. So, I said to Nick the weekend I was up there that he was the one guy that kind of left me wanting more. And the more finally came out. So you love to see that for him. Hopefully he can carry that onward as they hit the road for the next few games.
Yeah, like Nick said, hopefully this does have him moving up the lineup. When he gets more opportunities, he definitely capitalizes on them. And every time he's out there for a shorter shift when he's playing fourth line, you just start to see it come and then he's got to get off the ice. Like that extra few seconds that he's out there playing third line, it definitely pays off. And Nick, you brought up Hey Jude playing. First of all, Ammo, elite goal song choice. I can only imagine in like a game clinching scenario when that building's packed, the fans singing along to that song is going to be electric. Like I absolutely loved it. When I saw it on paper, I was like, that's an interesting choice. Then I heard it. I was like, oh, I get it. So great choice by him there, but just an overall fantastic weekend for him. His defensive play has just continued to grow from last year. It's one of the things we talked about a ton last year was how good defensively he was. The offense is going to start coming too. We just hope it does result in more opportunities for him on the ice. The next guy we got to talk about is the big fella himself, stopping 29 of 30, Sebastian Cossa. I thought he played a fantastic game. And talking to him after, I don't know if it was just tired or this is just how he is in post game. It's our first time really getting to talk to him in person like this. He seemed kind of down on his performance at first in this game, and I don't think he has any reason to be besides letting one goal past him. I know it ends the home shutout streak to start the season, but not much he could do on that goal there, to be honest. But that desperation save, which if you're watching on YouTube, I'll throw on screen right here for you now while we're talking. Unreal save to keep the boys in this. I mean, that would have been tie game or going to overtime at that point if that goal got past him. And he did everything in his power. He admitted, it was a bad rebound to give up to the guy right in front of him there. Defense tried to break it up and the puck kind of squirts out over to the faceoff circle and allows the guy to get a shot off. But Coase was ready. And, we haven't seen much of the flailing around like that scenario from him because he hasn't needed too much lately, but it's good to know he's still got that in there and can get those saves off like that. It was a highlight reel save. Two Sports Center top 10 worthy highlights out of this game, if I'm being honest with you, between Ammo's goal and that save.
Cossa came up big. I mean, he didn't get challenged a whole lot. Yeah, literally. He didn't get challenged a whole lot. There wasn't a whole lot of shots against him. I know he likes to have that quick, early, like heavy load right in the beginning of the game to kind of get settled in. And it seemed like as the game went on, like I told you, Brandon, this game was boring. I was so bored in this game because like there wasn't much happening. And I'm like, was it Friday night or was it Saturday night? I'm just like, there's just not much here. I mean, besides Ammo's like highlight reel goals, like there wasn't much until that last few minutes of when Cossa had to come up big to secure the win. He let in the one. It's gonna happen. He's still you shared a crazy stat this morning about with him and Askarov, right?
Or no, that's Husso and Askarov. I'm sorry.
But he's still like top 10 right now. He's still playing unreal. His stats. I was gonna try to pull him up while you were talking.
I got him right here.
Go ahead, Trav. Cool, perfect.
3 games played, 949 save percentage, 167 goals against average. 2-1.
Not bad. He's already faced a good amount of shots too when you're looking at other goalies across the league as well. So
93 saves. I don't know what the shot total would be. Well, it's 5 goals against, so do the math.
There you go. In 3 games. That's a lot of pucks this early. And like Nick said, he's a weird goalie. He likes to get a lot of pucks early, and he only saw 6 shots in the first. And usually where you see Cossa get shelled in the beginning of the game, as long as he's solid and stops them all, at that point, let's say he gets lit up for 15 shots in the first period and none get past him, you can pretty much almost guarantee a shutout at that point. He locks in after that. It's so different from other goalies where he just wants to see as many pucks as possible early. It's really weird.
I think a lot more goaltenders than you would think are actually like that. They want to see the puck. They want to feel the puck.
Goalies are weird.
They want to taste the puck,
which is weird because
they want to taste it.
You know, like who's weirder, the goalies that are in all the equipment blocking shots or the guys that are in less gear blocking shots? So
all of them.
He's like, he just seems to keep getting better. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. Like when he was drafted, he had all this raw potential, crazy acrobatic goaltender that's 6'6". Like now he's got the structure underneath him. He's got the coaching. He's getting he looks so much more comfortable. I think he's found his game that, you know, he knew he always had. And with a little bit of proper coaching and taking a long approach that, guys, we've continuously said it, the long game is going to be what makes this kid a star. And he keeps playing like this. He's on his way to it. You know, it's exciting for us as fans. I mean, you guys have seen it for now a year and 3 games. Well, you followed Toledo too, but you know, I've got to see it firsthand. The first year from super raw prospect turning pro to where he's at now, it's unbelievable, the night and day difference.
Yeah, I mean, even talking with Ville Husso Friday night, you know, that's the guy that's got Sebastian Cossa on his heels, right? You know, he's the guy that's most worried about it. And Ville Husso even goes, he's going to be ready, and he's going to be ready soon. Like it's when you get compliments like that, you know, he's getting closer and closer. And I'm sorry if you don't want to listen to this podcast and hear us talk about Sebastian Cossa every week, but we're probably going to, because like Trav said, he just continues to improve. And every week he pulls something else out new where I'm just like, how does this kid keep getting better? But he does. And I guess
he might be the closest to pro, like NHL ready now of all the prospects that are
in the system. Yeah.
That are in Grand Rapids.
Yeah. Honestly, that argument could be made. It's definitely a possibility there. It's just going to be fun to watch him continue to grow this season. And a lot of credit obviously goes to him and just the way he prepares himself for these games. But you got to look at this goalie coaching staff too. Roope Koivunen has already been touted as a fantastic goalie coach for this team. The organization absolutely loves him, and you can just tell the relationship that him and Seabass have together. It's fantastic, and who knows, maybe a promotion for Cossa down the road means a promotion for Roope too. We'll have to follow that close and see what happens. I can't wait to eventually get to chat with Roope. Hopefully this season that's something we can do, but I'd love to pick his brain on just how Cossa has developed. But that's enough talking about Cossa, because like I said, we could probably do it for the whole show. Another guy with the injuries and everything that got moved up the lineup Dominic Shine playing first line in this game already this season, what she looked to last season. He spent a lot of time in the bottom six early in the season before he started to really break out. And our friend of the show, Devin Little, Hockey with Devin on Twitter, if you follow him there, and threw out a tweet during the game Saturday night that Dominic Shine might be the most underrated hockey player in Michigan overall. And I fully believe that and buy into that. Shiner looked fantastic out there. There was offensive opportunities for him, playing on the power play a little bit in this game, playing the PK obviously, but just again, Shine's bringing that energy and showing that he has the offensive upside that can do some serious damage if a team gives him space.
I think too is like the biggest thing from last year is like Waddy wasn't familiar with him. He didn't know his role. He didn't know where to place him. He was kind of an odd player to put into this lineup, right? He just didn't have a spot. You know, you've got these prospects, you have these veterans, and then I think Waddy this year really figured out where he needs to put Shine and what he's good at. And Shine, you know, elevated his game over the offseason as well. He finished Saturday with the assist on Amos, but he's like the tone setter. He's the energy guy. Like he continues to prove like he belongs here, and he's, you know, fulfilled top line minutes over the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Dom Shine, 4 games played this season, a goal, 2 assists, and 7 penalty minutes, and he's a +1. I mean, he's doing everything you know him for, but is currently in a 3-way tie for the lead in the team in points. So, congrats to Shiner. I just love what he's doing already this season.
He's one of my favorite players. But if I was a coach, I'd love to have can play up the lineup, can play down in the lineup. He's plug and play. I mean, he can play anywhere. He can play with anybody. He's just a great veteran, I think, and a great voice to have. I mean, we have already talked about the leadership core a little bit. I mean, what's a better guy to have than a guy that can go up and down the lineup, knows what he's there for. He loves being with the Griffins, from what you guys have made it sound like. I mean, he loves it there. I think a lot of the fans love him. He's provided some great moments of laughter over the years with the infamous picture. That's my favorite picture. You know, he's just a great teammate, and I think that's probably the one thing that really stands out to me is, you know, you need him to play first line, he'll play the first line. You need him to muck it up, play the fourth line, he can do that too. So he's like kind of like a 5-tool player in baseball. He can play any position. I mean, is he the emergency goalie?
I hope not at this point. We have too many goalies here. He's in that. We got some other issues going on.
I just throwing it out there. I mean, hey, he's shown he could play anywhere. So just that kind of my thoughts on Shiner.
Yeah, no, those are all good thoughts. And yeah, I love what he brings to the table, and I'm just excited to watch his continuous growth this season. I mean, like you said, Trav, he loves playing in Grand Rapids. He's played his whole pro career in Grand Rapids. That's where he's played his entire pro career. He's already signed for the rest of the season. I don't know if that contract was for next year too, but I'm sure he's like the Hawkins of Grand Rapids. He's like Brandon Hawkins. He's the first guy to sign the deal to keep playing here. And as long as he wants to keep playing. Yeah, right. As long as he wants to keep playing, I don't see why he wouldn't be on this team for years to come. I just love everything he brings to the team. But that does wrap up the kind of overall thoughts with Saturday's game. I just want to wrap up the whole weekend together talking about a couple different guys that we didn't get to highlight specifically in the games. And one, obviously, Shai Buium. It's his first weekend of playing. He played back-to-back games, first 2 games of the season. And from my perspective, he looks a lot more confident than I thought he was going to look. When we kind of went through training camp and preseason, we were left with a lot of questions. Like, where does he actually fit in? Where is his development at? And he looked fantastic out there Saturday night, even piggybacking the second power play unit, which I did not anticipate. You can tell Dan's just trying different things right now and seeing what's going to work best with this power play, which we'll talk about more later. But I thought Shai played a fantastic game, really sound defensively, a couple really good shot opportunities as well, and some good passing to set up plays. Nick, what were your thoughts on Shai?
I was super high on Shai before the season, and then seeing him at training camp and dev camp, and then I was like, okay, maybe they have different plans for this guy. And you see Marco get pulled up, and this is kind of one of those spots where it let a player grab an opportunity and kind of take off with it. I thought he played really well this weekend. When we saw him last year, it was just kind of like playing catch. Like, it was pass, catch, pass, catch. That was like his go-to move. This weekend, we saw a lot different side of Shai Buyam of moving the puck up, activating. We saw him pinching in when he needed to be able to keep the puck in the offensive zone. Like he was setting up guys in the offensive zone. Like I just saw a whole different side of him, and I was happy. Like if you're gonna go 11-7 and you need to put a defenseman in, like that's Shai Buyam. Like that's a perfect way to like get his feet wet, get him in there against Manitoba. Like Manitoba was undefeated coming into the season. They're not going to be one of those heavy hitters like Milwaukee or Rockford. It's somebody that Manitoba, we ended up beating it last year in the season series. So it's just like you get a great opponent to go into, you get a great opportunity, and you had he was out there with Amo, Cross-Hannes, and Riklovsky. It was just a good full set of like perfect opportunity for him to go in, grab that, and I'm hoping he starts climbing up that defenseman lineup. I mean, it's going to be hard because we do have a lot of veterans. We still haven't seen Justin Holdown here, but Lagesson, I mean, you're going to probably fill in Lagesson with Tuo, Volley with Diddy, and then Viro and Rafferty. Maybe he takes the Viro spot. Maybe he climbs up that, or he's now the full 11-7 defenseman. Like, that's just where he plays, and that's not a bad thing at all, I think.
So two thoughts from that. One, I don't think we can ever call Dids Diddy in light of recent events. Second, I have a hot take for you. I know it's a small sample size. It's 2 games, but hot takes are fun. Shai put himself past Viro in the depth chart over this weekend. Viro left me a lot to be desired this weekend, including making a dumb mistake that resulted in us ending up on the penalty kill at one point. But Shai brought puck movement on top of really solid defense. Viro brings solid defense and a lot of dumping the puck because he seems to not know what to do with it when he gets to that point. Again, it's a hot take and it's a small sample size. But in reality, if you're a Red Wings fan, Shai Buyam's a more recent draft pick, obviously, than Emil Viro. And we don't really know what's going to go on with Viro. And we want him to move past him, and we want him to do it quickly. So I don't know. I'm going to throw that opinion out there and let you guys tell me I'm dumb.
I think Viro just brings a different defensive side. It's just more aggressive. Like if you're going to put him in, you're going to put him in against Rockford. You're going to put him in against maybe not Milwaukee, but just kind of like the rougher, tougher teams. And where you're going for size, like you're going to, not that Viro's a big guy, but he just plays he plays bigger than what he is. Until Shai can get his feet, going and more comfortable with the system and the speed that's here, I think that's where he's at. And I just think Viro just hasn't had a good opportunity, good chance based off of the injuries that he's had gone through. I still want him to do well. I still want him to be, moving up. He's just going to take a little bit longer time, I think, based off of the setbacks that he's had, just kind of like Cross-Hannes,
Okay. Trav?
So Buyam, 2nd round draft pick. I mean, so probably a higher ceiling. Now, granted, he does have a more offensive game to him. Viro, like you said, I would agree with you, Nick. A little more defensive, a little more physical. But, Viro was what, a 4th round pick, if I'm not mistaken, Brandon?
A 3rd round pick in 2020.
Okay, 3rd round pick. So, I mean, they only picked a round apart. It doesn't always matter where you're picked. It's just a matter of getting there. But I think, offensively, you're going to see a higher upside from Buyam than you would with Viro. Now, is there always the option you could put Viro with Buyam? You kind of have your stay-at-home guy, your offensive guy. I don't know. It's 2 games. It's a sample size. Hot takes are fun. I don't disagree with you, Brandon. I could see a world where Buyam might get a look. But this kind of leads into what I like to mention with the 11-7 factor.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this really works with the Griffins because of the head coach. And I think this because when Watson was with Toledo, you don't get 12 forwards. You're only allowed to dress so many guys, and you couldn't field the four full lines. I think he's so used to coaching with a short forward group that you can just plug and play an extra D-man in there from time to time, that I think he knows that role and that feel. Like, not saying he doesn't know how to coach with 12 forwards. It's just one more player, but there's a flow element that I think he just knows and is so familiar with that it seems to always work really well with the Griffins.
It's just like know when to go
love
for it
that
on
take.
4th down, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy for thinking that. It just like I seen it for so long with him in Toledo when you only have 11 forwards and then you have 6 defensemen and 2 goalies dressed every night that I think, he's just so used to having 11 forwards. It's like, okay, just roll an extra center with 2 sets of with an extra set of wingers. Just keep rolling those centers through the lineup. Now he doesn't have, like, if they go 11-7, you have the 11 forwards. You have an extra D man. Okay, hey, you're sitting this one. You'll be out in the next one. But okay, William, you go. Okay, Vero, you go. Rafferty, you go. It's just kind of, I don't know. It could be far-fetched to even talk about this, but I just I just see it from the forwards perspective that like it works because he's done it for so long.
Yeah, I love that take.
I think it helps too. Is like where's Detroit's biggest focus? What is their biggest need moving forward?
Center depth.
Moving
Everything.
forward. No pun intended. But yeah, it's center depth. And who is our 2 centers that are big draft prospects, right? Amadeus, Danielson. Danielson needs the repetitions. He needs to get the speed. He needs to get the system down up here in Grand Rapids. He's going to be a heck of a player. He just needs that time to get comfortable. And then Amo just needs that time. He just needs the reps. He just needs the time on ice is where to be able to flourish, really. I mean, we saw that this weekend. So if you're able to rotate and get them that more time, that's going to be just that much more for their development. But also, it leads to winning. We're now undefeated 11-7, which will keep a track going forward this season, which we didn't do last season because it was sprung on us. We didn't have you here, Travis.
Yeah, no, it is a good take. I understand why that makes sense with Waddy's coaching, and it will be something to watch this season. I mean, every time we were going 11-7 last season, we weren't nervous. Like we were like, oh, okay, cool. We're gonna have another good game.
Something to ask him after a game. You can tell him I brought it up.
I will. No, I will for sure try to remember that. Like I try to remember everything else when we talk to him, and then I completely go, huh? Anyways.
Notebook.
Yeah, right. Another defenseman I want to talk about real quick too, as well, is a guy I want to make sure that's not forgotten with, obviously Simon Edvindson's departure to Detroit and Albert Johansson's departure to Detroit. William Wallinder is taking on a bigger workload this year. We see him running the first power play unit. We see him out there on the PK, and we see him obviously near the top pairings out there. When he was drafted as a incredible skater, and we saw it right away. We like, yeah, this kid can skate for sure, but he was obviously trying to adjust to North America. He was buried in the lineup last year a little bit. We were waiting to see if that skating really showed. And again, small sample size, but I pointed out to Nick Saturday night, watching him skate, his movement on ice is so much smoother. If you took the number off his back, he was looking like Simon Edvinsson out there, the way he was skating and moving the puck. The physicality, he doesn't have that like Edvinsson did, but he's moving the puck like Ed did. And that's super, super crucial to see this early in the season, to see that his development's gone to that point where he's actually moving the puck as a defenseman and moving it well. And I know the power play is going to be a topic we'll talk about. It hasn't been pretty, but he's looking extremely confident out there. We even brought it up to Waddy after the game on Saturday, and he's really impressed with what he's seen so far out of Wallinder. So I just want to pick your guys' thoughts real quick on him before we moved on.
I think Volley, I mean, his biggest thing was skating. We saw it when he played in the SHL. We saw it the game 1 that he played here when the SHL season ended. Last season, skating well again. And again, I feel like he's looking more confident. I don't want to put him in that Simon bracket yet because I felt like Simon made a lot more riskier, high upside plays. And Volley is not that. He's playing more on the safer side. He's still moving the puck really well, but I just don't think, I feel like when I watched Simon last year, it was a lot of cross ice stretch passes to activate that guy on the right side, which is usually like Bergie or Mazer or Casper. Like he was always activating up, where Wally, you're seeing more of those shorter passes. They're still activating, but I don't feel like it's as dynamic on the offensive side. Does that make sense?
I would disagree.
Well, we're gonna have to clip it this weekend to prove me wrong.
I will 100%. I definitely saw quite a few stretch passes that were getting guys going. They weren't as deep. Sure, he wasn't taking as big of a risk,
Yeah.
but there was a lot of times early on Simon Edmondson would do that too, and it would get turned over in the neutral zone every single time. So to already see like him starting to do that is good. My main take is that he's moving the puck like Ed. He's maybe not taking those risks, but to get the puck movement going is what I was looking for the most from him. Like Laguson's doing that when he's paired up with Tuo. He's moving the puck really well for everyone. That's expected. When you're putting Vollander with Josiah Didier, you've got to have someone moving the puck. Dids is incredible on the defensive side. Wally's got to step up and move that puck a lot more, and he's doing it. And that's what I wanted to point out.
So I have something on Wally.
Yeah.
Okay. He was I think he was the top under 20 defenseman in the SHL at one point.
Yeah.
His first season with Rogla, he had 19 points. Granted, it was in 47 games. Last year, his first American League season, 15 points in 65 games. Played more games, didn't put up quite so many points, but okay, say for a point factor, he was only 4 points off. Now, granted, he played a lot more games. This year, his second year in the SHL, he had 26 points. I'm not saying he's going to get to that point, but if he can take that step, like you're talking about him being that puck-moving defenseman that they need him to be, if he can kind of get over the 20-point mark, I'd say that's a big year for him. And he's running the first power play. At least he was when I was up there. I would assume he ran the first unit. So, I mean, the points will come. I think it's just him taking another step, and he's taking on a bigger workload, which Waddy kind of told us in the summer, like, hey, this is going to be one of the guys to take a big step this year. So I think the biggest thing with him is just kind of continuously get better little by little. Again, another second-round pick, so a higher-end draft pick for us. Hopefully he can just keep developing, and he can work into that 6-7 role with Detroit in the future. But for this year, I think it's just continue to grow. If he can run power play 1 down here, who did that last year?
Simon Edmondson.
And he's in the NHL. So,
well, and you got to remember with his point total last year too, he was third line defense every game. There was no movement up the lineup for him. He was sheltered. So to see what he'll be able to do this year is going to be very interesting to watch. And I think if he can come out and produce on the point side as well as still play the fantastic defensive game, he's kind of following the exact track of an Albert Johansson, who was sheltered in his first year, really showed out last year, and now look where he's at this year. So again, you can't hit on every draft pick, right? It's impossible, but God, these defensive picks that they've made over the past few years are really looking good. But it's going to be fun to watch Wally this year. I just like to see his confidence out there, because that confidence is coming with poise and his skating and being able to move that puck. So it's making everyone feel better. And another guy who seems to be a little bit more confident this year, who we've got to talk about, because I think I owe him an apology at this point, Cross Hannes. When we did our too early to predict season roster predictions, I said he wouldn't be on the team. He might be in Toledo. He looks so much better this year. One, super physical and super aggressive. We saw it in week 1. He came in to stick up for Nate Danielson right away, and we're still seeing the physical side out of him in every game. But his puck movement is so much better. His board battles are significantly better. Him in the corner, he's turning into a dog in that corner this year. It's fantastic to watch. I know, Nick, you and I both kind of looked at each other and was like, yep, he's making us eat our words. He's looking a lot better already this season.
Which is good. Like, I don't want a player to be to not do well, like, especially for the team, for the organization. I mean, once you're off the team, I don't really care about you. I'm just kidding. I mean, we're still following everybody that has left over the season, but Cross, I mean, I think the big thing is, like, he was battling those injuries. He had that setback. He had to go through rehab on some of those injuries, and I think he has a full season. He was able to get some practice time. If I remember correctly, I think he was down in Detroit practicing with Kosa and some of the other guys throughout the season, or throughout the offseason. So you see him, he's got a little bit more pep. I feel like he may have recharged over the offseason, and he's looking a lot better, and I'm happy for that, because especially if he's going to be paired up with my boy Ammo, like, that's we need somebody to be feeding pucks to either Ammo or Ammo be feeding pucks to him and him finishing. So he hasn't got on the score sheet yet, but I think it's only a matter of time. I mean, you've seen like Ammo didn't go off until this last weekend. So we got a big 3-game series, and maybe he finds the back of the net or gets some points up there. So I'm excited to see how he continues. It's just, I think it's like make or break year 2 for him.
And I think he knows that too. When we talked to Ammo after the game, we mentioned what it was like having Cross Hannes being his hype man there, because I don't know if anyone noticed it, but at the end of the game, as the team was skating off, he's sitting there he's grabbing Ammo by the shoulder and like hyping up the crowd for like pointing at Ammo, getting them all going for him. And Ammo loved that, but also mentioned, Cross is a hell of a player and he's going to have a big year too. And you always love when a teammate's saying that. And those two spent a lot of time together on the same lines last year. That fourth line, those two played a ton together, especially when you threw Elmer into the mix too. I wouldn't be shocked to see with this 11-7, you see that line reunite at some point over this next couple weeks if we're going to go 11-7 for a few more games. I'd love to see the three of them together with the strides they made in the offseason. I think that could be something really special. But like I said, I think Cross maybe eat my words and I owe him an apology, and I'll always own up to that if a player's going to go out there and prove me wrong, and I love it. I'm just happy to see his confidence is going up, and that's exactly what we need, especially when you have a Griffins team that lost guys like Berge. You lose a guy like him, you need more offense from other players, and hopefully Cross Hannes can help fill that gap a little bit this year. Then the last guy, obviously I just mentioned him there, Elmer. I mean, Nick, he was a one-man wrecking crew this weekend out there. He looked fantastic. And again, they were getting under his skin too, and it sparks the angry Elmer that we saw out there. But if Mo Sider happened to watch any highlights that we posted this weekend, he's going to watch them with a smile, because he had 2 massive reverse hits this weekend where they attempted to hit Elmer, which, one, how are you dumb enough to attempt to knock down that massive human being? 2, they all had a bad time because they all ended up on the ground afterwards. But on top of that, though, offensively, he looked good. He had that good breakaway opportunity where he got the shot off and picked up his own rebound and got a second shot off. But defensively, he was poke checking like mad this weekend, picking guys' pockets, using that long reach that he has. It just seems like Elmer is more comfortable in his skin than he's ever been before.
Yeah, I think it's more comfortable in the skates that he's wearing, to be honest. He's skating better. He's staying up. It's something that he struggled with last year. Now he's leading the team. He's tied for first on the team with shots. I wrote in my notes for this weekend, like, he's about to pop off at any moment. Like, he's looking more confident. He's got the shot. Like, he had that one-on-one breakaway at the, I think it was either second or third period in Saturday's game, and he almost had it. And he didn't give up on it either. Like, he got that rebound. He tried to put it back in again. Just bad puck luck, I think. And he's going to be, I don't know how long it's going to take him, but I feel like he's right there. He's right there on the edge, about to pop that bubble and just take off. And then hopefully we just never look back, and he's just taking it off like Berge did last year for us, which is a guy that I literally wrote was like, somebody I miss is having that dynamic forward. And maybe that's where Elmer can come up and step into that role and start taking off. And we'll see with Mazur out of the lineup, maybe Elmer is able to take that spot, and hopefully not for too long, but he gets that opportunity and he gets comfortable and he starts putting it in the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean, it's someone that you want to see pop off. I'm going to skip ahead in our note here, boys, real quick. I know we want to talk about the power play and PK next, but we also were going to talk about another topic we brought up, where is goal scoring going to be a concern for this team? Again, it's early. It's only 4 games in. Currently, the Griffins have only scored 7 goals this season. They got 5 against. And, there's an obvious lack of goal scoring when you're winning these 1-0 games, 2-1 games, and things like that. Is it too early to sound the alarm for that? I would say yes, because I think you have a lot of guys that are stepping into much bigger workloads than they've ever stepped into before. And you have the absence of Carter Mazur and Marco Kasper already in this season. So that's a big adjustment that a lot of guys weren't ready to make the adjustment for. But I know, Nick, you're concerned when you look at this goal scoring right now.
I mean, my concern was on the defense in the beginning of the season, and the defense has been locked down, lights out. The goal of the goal of sports is to score more than the other team, and so far we've been doing that. So I think it's working out the way it's supposed to for us. So I think it's still early. I think the guys are still trying to find their shot, a little bit, and just try to get comfortable with who they're with. Like, you see, none of these lines are returning from last year.
It's all different.
It's all different. Snively, Dries weren't on the team. Shine was all over the place. You got Elmer with Danielson and Watson. He didn't play with those guys last year. Neither of those guys played with each other at any point in time. Rikolovsky coming over from Europe, not comfortable, not familiar with North American ice. He's still warming up. He's looking good. Yeah. He's got a big body out there. He'll get it. He'll get it figured out. It's just, I think that December, Christmas time is when he's going to start popping off. Lombardi and Hannes, I mean, they may have played together a couple times last year. And then
I just told you they played a bunch together.
Yeah, they played a bunch together. I mean, that's your only like chemistry line right there. I mean, that's it. Because then you have Johannes and Doucette. And Deuce was in Toledo all last year. So I think it's just a small sample size. The guys are still trying to figure out. There's no reason for us to sound the alarms until Christmas. Like, I don't even want to say Christmas. I would say Thanksgiving. Let's give them, because this team already, the coaching staff's familiar. They're familiar with their roster. They're familiar with the building. It's not going to take that long to adjust and to gel, I think. I'm hoping.
Well, I mean, where did the team pop off last year after a long road trip, which happened to be right before Christmas? And that was the first long road trip we had. And we go into this season, and our next 4 games are all on the road over the next 2 weeks here. They're going to have some time on the road to get to know each other and get acquainted. I feel like it's going to happen a little earlier this year than it did last year. But I'm glad to hear that the defensive side of the things is more calm in your brain than the offensive side was. So that makes me happy, because the defense, like you said, it has been locked down, lights out. This is a tough team to score against.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the schedule. It's like 6 out of the next 7 games are away. Yeah, we've got one here with Rock.
7 out of the next 8 are on the road. Oof.
So, I mean, it's. I'm hoping Waddy. I wanted to ask him this weekend, and like the big focus last year was to be a good road team, and we didn't see that in the beginning of the season. So hopefully they are able to bond, they're able to gel, get to know each other, get comfortable, and bring back some points this weekend and get that goal scoring. I mean, I don't want to stress out too much about it yet.
It's too early to stress. Don't sound the alarm.
Yeah, like the Red Wings Twitter right now.
If you don't let them score, it doesn't matter, because you only need one. For a team struggling to score, if you can get one but not allow any, you're going to win a lot of hockey games. Now, granted, it's probably not sustainable to win a lot of hockey games, but I'm not too concerned yet. I mean, it's definitely a question to talk about for sure. It gives us something to talk about, but no, I mean, there's enough talent in that room that they'll find it. It's just a matter of when it does, and I think when it does, it's gonna come in bunches. So hopefully, like you said, they got a long road trip ahead of them, a lot of games on the road in the next couple of weeks. So if they can find that right blend, I mean, once guys start seeing the puck go in the net, then you kind of start to gain that confidence to shoot the puck more. So I think it's early yet, and I wouldn't sound any alarms that they're not scoring yet. At least they're winning games, like it could be a lot. It could be a lot worse, right? They could be sitting here 1-3, 0-4, scoring 1 or 2 a night, and then you're like, oh, we got us a problem. But they're winning games, so you got to take the good with the bad, and it'll level itself out.
You could be 0-5 after signing Steven Stamkos and a bunch of other guys this season.
After spending like all boatload of money.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that'll help bring goals is perfect transition to talk about this power play, because it was a hot topic of last season. Obviously, when we talk to Coach Watson, we're not going to get much out of him on this one. I don't think it's a topic that we'll bring up too often, or we might not be allowed back in the room. But it's not starting off looking so hot. Positive side of things, so the penalty kill is sitting at a cool 92.9%. They've been shorthanded 14 times, only allowed 1 goal. If they keep that rolling, things are going to be beautiful. And with the penalty killers we have on this squad, I am pretty confident in that. I mean, Dominic Shine's easily one of the best penalty killers in the American Hockey League. There's no doubt about that. One thing I wanted to call out, we talked about him earlier, Josiah Didier. What I noticed on the penalty kill for him is he makes himself twice the size that he actually is out there with his positioning and where he puts his stick and everything. He's so good at it. He makes himself easily twice the size, maybe 3 times the size. Guys could not get past him. They could not get shots around him. They could not get passes through him. He was exceptional on the PK this weekend. And, we asked Coach Watson at the end of the game as well. I mentioned to him, it looked like we were really good at anticipating a lot of Manitoba's plays. I know we had already played them on Friday night, so you'd already gotten a good taste, but I asked him, is that just credit to good film study? And he, spoke on how smart this team is and how good they are at absorbing the information this coaching staff is throwing at them. So a lot of credit to them and getting them prepared. The power play, on the other hand, 7.1% right now. They've had 14 opportunities and they've only scored 1 goal. And now what I will say is Friday night, I noticed a lot more movement on the power play. It looked a lot better. We even brought that up to Waddy. And Saturday night, it looked better still, but it still looks like guys are just not comfortable shooting it on the power play. You started to see the movement like we were talking about, but you just didn't see a lot of shots. I wish there was a shots stat for when you're on the power play through the AHL, but again, that's just another statistician. But Nick, what are your thoughts overall on this power play?
I mean, the power play is not great, right? 7%. Special teams as a total is 100 something, right? Quick math, easy math. So that's good, right? You want to be right around the 100 for special teams. Not great for the power play, though. You want to see that it be a little bit better. Obviously, 7% is not great. The one thing I would say, like, they did look better Friday. You did get a little bit more movement, and they were able to. We were banging on the glass last year for this, is that we want to see them down low. We want to see them work that puck behind the net and then feed it out. And that first unit, and we wrote this down. I can't remember who was on that first unit. Maybe you've got that lineup, but they did really well. They were able to move the puck. They were able to get set up. They were able to take advantage to get some shots off. And then when they lost the puck. Power play 2 comes out. We couldn't get set up. We couldn't get in the zone. We couldn't get anything going. So there were issues there. Again, you just need some movement. It's still better than what it looked like last year, and it's still early. So maybe we'll see a huge difference this year. And maybe these guys that we played, the first 3 teams we played so far are really good penalty kill teams. I don't know.
And one thing I'll note too, when you're they looked more prepared on the power play this week and on the penalty kill. But when you're setting up all week and getting prepared for these teams and you lose 2 guys like Marco Kasper and Carter Mazer off the power play, that is going to make things a little more difficult. And another thing I'll give them credit for, they're not the worst power play in the league. You could be the Rochester Americans, who have had 22 power play opportunities and have no goals. They actually have a shorthanded goal allowed during their power play there. So give them negative points there. So again, it is early, but it's just something that I think a lot of people are going to continue to ask about, since it was the hot button topic of last season with how bad it did look near the end there. And the one positive I'll take from not converting, at least, when we're not converting, it's not allowing the other teams to gain momentum against us like it was last year. Like, you saw us fail to convert on 5 power plays in a game, and Milwaukee would turn around and score right after they killed that off because they were able to build up that momentum after it. But usually right when it goes back to 5-on-5, the Griffins have been fantastic at locking it down and keeping things calm and not letting those other teams build off of it. So I guess if you're going to be bad in the power play, at least be able to be, shut down 5-on-5 and make it really difficult out there until you figure things out. But hopefully it gets back into, the double-digit percentages over there would be pretty nice. Like, let's get it over 10 this weekend while we're on the road. That would be that'd be nice to see the power play start cooking. But again, 2 absences of 2 big pieces of the power play. It's going to sting for a bit.
So you have the penalty kill at 92.9?
Yep.
And the power plays at 7.1?
Yep.
Add those 2, what do you get?
100.
Okay, that's the magic number. Now, Granted, you don't want it to be this far apart. Ideally, you're probably looking for like 85, closer to 85, 90 on the penalty kill, and probably like 15 to probably around closer to 20 on the power play. But listen, they're hitting the number, that the magic number is 100. You want your special teams to be, you add the 2 around 100. That's just kind of a known thing. Granted, it's not, you wish it was kind of like a little closer to 20, 25 on the power play. Ideally, right around 20, I would say, is really good, because once you get up to like 30%, you're into the super elite. So I would say anywhere from probably 17 to 20% is probably about something probably close to average over an extended period of time over a 72 game season would most likely be somewhere in there. It might be closer to 20, 21, but I mean, like you said, they're missing two key pieces here. So if they can kind of right the ship until they get guys back, I mean, you're probably not going to get Marco back, but at least until you get Carter back. So one thing I kind of would like to see, where's Elmer being deployed on the power play right now?
Right where he should be, in front of the freaking net.
Yeah, guy's got unbelievable hands. You've seen it in the World Juniors the one year. He went in between the legs and scored a goal from right in front of the net. And just park that big body in front of the net and just take away the goaltender's eyes, and good things will happen. So it's just kind of my sense. I mean, they're on the 100. They're on that 100 total. It's just a matter of maybe getting a little bit better on the power play, so that if your PK does falter a little bit, you're still close to 100.
So we've mentioned it twice. I've mentioned it. You've mentioned it. Why do you want to be at 100?
I mean, hang on. You might have to edit this because I really don't know.
I don't know either. I don't think there's a specific reason. I think it's just the targeted number that you want to be at.
Yeah, I think it's just more like it's just what every team kind of wants. I mean, you think in percentages, you would think 100% is probably the best percent. When you're adding two percentages, you probably want to be around 100. It's just something that a lot of teams have always shot for. Now, granted, when you're like the Oilers operating at like a 30% power play, and if you're operating at like an 85%, you're gonna be well above it. And we've seen it in Toledo the last couple of years. When you're well above that 100 number, you're going to have a really good hockey team. Like I said, we've seen it the last few years in Toledo where you're getting like 25, 26% on the power play. You're over 88% on the penalty kill. The better your special teams are, the more games you're going to win, the higher points you're going to have. Ultimately, it's going to amount to a better season as a whole. So just special teams is very key to this sport. You have to take advantages of power plays when you get them, and you got to be able to kill penalties when you take penalties. So just kind of my 2 cents there.
No, and I'm glad you said that because, again, it's early, but it's going to be the hot button topic with this team just based off last year. So it's going to be a question you'll hear in media probably after every single game, not from us, but we'll see what happens with it. Again, the penalty kill is humming, and we could be the Chicago Wolves, who have only been shorthanded 9 times. They're one of the lowest penalized teams in the league so far, and they're operating at a 55.6% penalty kill. So things seem to not have improved in Chicago. But that does transition to where I want to do a quick AHL update. Obviously, we're only 2 weeks into the season here. Griffins are currently sitting second in the Central Division, tied with Milwaukee on points there, and basically almost every other stat except for goals for. Following the Griffins, you have the Texas Stars right behind them with Manitoba, Rockford, Chicago, and Iowa as it goes there. Kind of how we expected the season to really go, honestly. Iowa still is winless this season. Other winless teams across the league, Utica has not won a game, and that are going to be the only 2 winless teams so far in the American Hockey League. But there's been some interesting ones out there. We'll give another shout out back-to-back weeks, I guess, for good old Yaroslav Askarov, back-to-back shutouts in his appearances out there. And like Nick brought up earlier, the stat of the day we shared where Ville Husso and him are tied with save percentage and goals against this season in the AHL. One's played 2 games, one's only played 1, and they've both faced the exact same amount of shots. It's a super weird stat to call out this early in the season, but seeing them facing the exact amount of shots, but one's played 1 more game, just questions either the defense in San Jose or the team that they played against. Looking at you, Iowa. Outside of that, though, nothing really else exciting across the board in the AHL this week. Like we did mention earlier, the Griffins do have a long road trip coming up, and they've got a rare back-to-back-to-back in the AHL this weekend. They are in Springfield to take on the Springfield Thunderbirds on Friday, and then they head over to Lehigh Valley to take on the Phantoms Saturday and Sunday and wrap up that road trip before coming back home on October 30th in Hartford against the Wolfpack there. One of the very few teams, when you look at all-time records for these teams, that actually has a winning record against Grand Rapids, so hopefully we can close up that gap a little bit. And the boys are back home November 1st, and then they head back on the road again. But that's the schedule update for the Griffins there, and I think that's all I have for this episode of the show, unless you boys have one last thing you want to throw at me.
I got one small thing. I'm just double checking here. I think the Griffins are actually about to play somebody I played hockey against.
No way.
Yeah. Yeah, they are actually. So he plays for the Phantoms. Brennan Fury, he's from Northwest Ohio, played for Minnesota State in college. He signed with Lehigh Valley out of college, I believe. So I'll be tuned into those two games. I mean, got something to watch on both sides. Kid I played against and the team I'm not covering. So it's
what's the scouting report on the kid, Trav? Come on, let's give the team some extra
Dude,
info
that's
here.
a long time ago, my guy. That was probably a couple feet and a couple 100 pounds ago. So it's just a cool little tidbit for me to watch a game if I can. I mean, I know we pitched around an idea for Friday, but they don't play Lehigh Friday. So
I know that's a bummer. Nick, anything you want to add?
We have one undefeated team in the AHL,
Who's that?
the Toronto Marlies.
Told you they're going to be good.
That's interesting. In the North, I don't believe they're on our schedule, but worth noting,
They're not.
most people got at least a loss. They haven't played. They played the Americans, the Gulls, is what I've seen so far. Their team schedule shows 4 games, but the AHL's website says 5. While I'm looking at it too, I did want to mention, we're talking about goals. Grand Rapids has the second lowest in the Central Division with 7, and but they are giving up the least amount with 5. So something to do. Keep a little bit of a
Hey, again, as long as we're scoring more than we let in, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
It's an irrelevant stat until that number changes. But until then, we don't worry about it. We don't sound the alarm. We don't panic. Like the boys will figure it out. It's a growing period, and again, they grew a lot on a long road trip together last year. I think we'll see that this weekend. So it's gonna be interesting. A back to back on the road this early. That's a tough battle right there. So it's gonna be a lot of interesting things to watch out for. And don't worry, we won't hit the panic button if it goes sideways either. It's just too early to do that.
Didn't
But,
put that
well,
out there.
Nick might hit the panic button. He just likes to hit the button though.
Might
We should
sound
give
the
Nick a
horn.
big red button on the desk so he can press it to get it out of his system. But yeah, with that, I think it is time to wrap this one up. Updates for the show schedule for everybody, as the Toledo Walleye have now kicked off their season, and it would be disrespectful of us to not give the fish enough airtime. So this week, you obviously will have our first episode of the week, Monday, the one you're listening to right now. There will be a Walleye Wednesday update from their first 2 games in Bloomington over the weekend. And then Thursday, we'll have another show where we preview the Griffins weekend ahead against Springfield and Lehigh Valley. So 3 shows for you guys this week. We hope you're excited about that, and we can't wait to talk about Walleye hockey. I'm super excited because the next game I will physically be at is the Walleye home opener. So I'm pumped, ready to get back down to the bank tank and see all those wonderful fans down there. But until Wednesday, I guess, that is all we've got for you, everyone. Thank you for tuning into the show. As always, we got to thank our sponsors, DraftKings and Game Time, and of course, the Hockey Podcast Network for being fantastic partners with us and securing those sponsors. And of course, the long-standing sponsor of the show, Everything Hockey. Make sure you head over to everythinghockey.com. Use code WEST to save a few bucks off your order. Pick up some new hoodies because it's officially fall and it's getting chilly out there. And those hoodies are honestly super comfortable for fall bonfires. I can confirm. On top of Everything Hockey, we got to make sure we thank our patrons over on Patreon there. And those currently are
Mr. Randy Zick. We've got Derek Sleezer, Michael Asante, Lori, and Alan chipping in this month. We've got, I believe we got something in the works for this week. We're still kind of figuring that out, I think, right? So
yeah, still trying to
tune
figure
in.
out schedules.
Tune in. We're posting who we got for the interviews after the game, so you can send us your questions and or requests. If there's somebody you want to hear from, let us know, and we can try to get that done for you too. So
Yeah, we always, with about 10 minutes left in any Griffins game that we are physically at there, we get the heads up of who we can get to talk to after the game. We'll always drop it in Patreon there in case there's any fan questions. We can't guarantee that every fan question gets asked because obviously there's certain etiquette we have to follow as media, but at the same time, we will try to make sure everything gets in there as much as we can. So pay attention to the Patreon page there during games. We'll provide updates there as we know more information. But as always, thank you all for the support of the show. It wouldn't be possible without you guys. We love you. Thank you. But everyone, until Wednesday, we will talk to you again then. Go Griffins, go Walleye.
love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy and Brandon at BrandonGR Hockey.